Hello everyone and welcome to Trailblazers of Women's International Sport for Limerick Pride in partnership with GCN and Sporting Pride. My name's Emma Loo, my pronouns are she, her, and I'm your host for this evening. I'm the Vice Chair of LIKECHARITY, Ireland's first explicitly LGBTQI+ friendly GAA club, and I'm delighted to be part of this fantastic event and honoured to be joined by a highly esteemed panel of athletes. Sporting landscape has changed dramatically, from rules being upgraded to meet the physicality of players. More women and girls are taking up sport, and women's sport is getting more coverage and being put on the map. But it hasn't always been this plain sailing, and you'll hear this exactly from our panelists and their experience of facing barriers, overcoming obstacles, and playing the love of the game they absolutely adore. And before I introduce our panel, if you have any questions, please pop them into the chat box and we'll get around to it at the end for our Q&A session. Now, before we get started, I'm delighted to be part of this fantastic event and a fantastic group of athletes with a mix of experience from representing Ireland in soccer and rugby. And I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Grannie Cross, known internationally as Cossie, Jackie McCarthy-O'Brien, and Sinead Cosgrave. Now, thanks Mill for joining us tonight for Limerick Pride's event. I know we're going to have such a great chat tonight, and we'll try and wrap it up within the hour. Look, I know we could go all night, so let's see how far we can go. So I'm just going to get our panel here to introduce themselves with a little bit about themselves. So Grannie, you're in front of me here. Can I get you just to give a little bit of background and about the love of your sport?
Hello everybody. My name is Grannie Cross. I come from Limerick and I've played sport all my life and has been my second family and still is. I represented my sport in soccer with Ireland and in rugby, and I loved every minute of it, and I could not ask for a better childhood and grown up as an adult. So sport was my second nature.
Thanks a million, Grannie. That's fantastic. Jackie, can I pop over to you now?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Jackie McCarthy-O'Brien, and I grew up in the lovely Killingley, Limerick City. I've had the honour and pleasure to represent Ireland in both soccer and rugby, Munster and Limerick. And a bit like Grannie, made a big family out of it, some great memories. And I'd go as far as to say sport itself saved my life growing up as a black child in Limerick. But I couldn't have been brought up in a better city, sports mad. So I landed on my feet when I landed in Limerick. So yeah, that's my story.
Super. And last but not least, we have Sinead.
Hiya, Sinead Cosgrave, better known as Cossie. I played rugby for Ireland as well, and Munster and Connacht. I was brought up in Southill and Weston, and I currently live in Galway. Like the girls, we made family out of sport. You know, we friends that we might not see for a long time. They're our friends, and if we need them, they're there.
Sinead, I think you're dead right there. I think sport has this power, this community sense. It brings us all together, and we're going to chat about that a little bit. And maybe we might kick it off first with if you can tell me kind of the things that you enjoy most about sport. So if this is, you know, playing with a team, how freeing it feels to run around the pitch, just to feel that adrenaline of, you know, scoring points, lifting up cups, and just all around being involved. So Jackie, can I start with you maybe? Are you still involved in sport? And kind of what are you up to now?
Well, I'm the elder lemon of the group, you know, not that you know, but definitely no. I played my last match at the age of 40 years ago. And, you know, it's I went on and done some coaching, as I know Cossie did as well, and just to give something back to the sport. But, as you hit on there, playing sport, running around the field, that adrenaline rush that you get, that camaraderie, that sense of belonging to a team. And I'm lucky enough to have played with a soccer team and a rugby team that we were together for an awful long time. You learn the ins and outs. It's like you're having a bad day, get out on the pitch. It's all forgotten about. You can just leave your worries behind. You know, your teammates are coming from the same place. You can't underestimate the power of a group sport. It just becomes a way of life for you. It's the second family, you know. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, agree. Grannie, I see you're nodding there. What can you add to having that feeling of having a second family around you?
Well, that's the joy about playing a team sport. It's all in one and everybody on and off the field. And with sports now, you're always talking about mental health, physical health. And when we were growing up, I don't even think we knew what mental health was, because we didn't think we experienced it, but we did. We had our problems, but you went down the field, you forgot about it, you come off the field, and that problem was still there, but it wasn't as big, because you talked to your teammates, they helped you out. And then the physical side of it, I don't think I was ever sick. So I had all that going for it. And then you had the social life, and that's not just in Ireland. It's everywhere in the world, where you have the nerves before the game in the dressing room. It's your teammate who's coming up saying, "You'll be grand, I'll help you." And then you won, the excitement, and then going for your few beers, your food. That match went on for a full 24 hours, even though you only played 90 minutes. So you were spending more time that day with your teammates than you were with your family. So that's why they became a second family. And when you stop playing, it is hard, even if you're an amateur or professional. So I went back coaching soccer with a great club, Mungris, and I had a great time with them. And then when I stopped that, I decided I just take up walking and running. I did a marathon, it was great satisfaction. Can't run now with injuries, but you just keep going on, and you just love watching. You want to be out there. And if you can't play it, go and watch it. It's the same thing.
And Sinead, how do you feel about that 24-hour party? Do you think you made a lot of bonds there? And maybe you could talk us through that experience of being so alive and just playing sport, but also having such great teammates around you.
Yeah, you had you had an emotional connection to your teammates. You know, you were never in need of anything. And like Crossie said, we didn't know that we would have had mental health issues, because somebody would put their arm around you and say, "It's going to be okay," you know, or you could talk to someone about it. Like it's playing with a team, or it doesn't even, it's not always playing with a team, but just being part of it. You don't have to be a player. You can be part of the management, you can be part of the support system, but being part of a team, there's an emotional connection that lives with you for the rest of your life. You make friends for life from playing sports, for sure.
True.
And for people at home who are watching, Sinead, I might bounce this back to you, and we'll go around the group as well. Maybe you could each tell us about your club, who you're with now, and if you're involved with coaching, or just, you know, going to games and watching your club.
Yeah, well, myself and the girls, we played for Old Crescent with an absolutely fantastic team at the time, and we're all still friends. We won the All-Ireland League and Cup. After that, I moved to Galway. I played with Corinthians and Galwegians, and I played for Connacht. Even like a couple of years ago, the girls, we played the World Cup, we had never got caps. We'd never received caps from the IRFU. So we had to fight for those caps. And about 3 years ago, we got those caps presented to us, actual physical caps that we could put on our heads. And there was about 113 of them showed up at the IRFU, and they put on dinner for us and gave us all our caps. People came from Australia and New Zealand just to receive their caps. You know, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. It's brilliant to catch up with people that you played with years ago. I was coaching for a couple of years up here in Connacht, but I'm not coaching anymore. I'm too old now. I can't put up with the under 18s. Don't have the patience.
They remind you of
I'm
yourself
swimming now. Oh no, but no, nobody would have put up with me. No. None of them are that bad. Yeah, but you're going to get sainthoods for that.
Legends.
And Grannie, you might add to that, how important and how good of a feeling was it to get that cap into your hand and to, you know, reconnect with everyone that you had such great bond with?
When I first heard about it, I was so ecstatic. I was just going, it's taken a long time. But I didn't realise was the amount of work that Cossie and a good few others were doing behind the scenes to get this. I just thought it automatically just came because the players now get it after their first game. But to go up there and to see the way we were treated meant a lot, even though we deserved it. It was a long time coming, but it still meant a lot to us. And it was just a simple thing of having a meal, getting spoken by Phil Orr there, the president, and we deserved that years ago, but it still meant that much to us to get it 30 years afterwards. So yes, it was, and it takes a lot of work, and thank God, because of these people, others won't have to go through, like, as you said, they had to come back from Australia, New Zealand to receive their caps. But that was a thrill as well for them, I suppose, as well. So it was all good, really, in the end. So, and as you said, if we don't give it back in coaching, there's other ways to give it back. And we've all done our coaching, we've given it back. And we appreciate those people who did it for us 30 years ago as well. Those around committees, our coaches, even people driving around with 20 people in a car. And it was legal back then, so we were okay. But like, there was a lot behind the scenes. So yes, and now, as I said, I'm just doing physical training myself. But I do follow. I really still love the rugby. I go to the World Cups, and this year I was due to go to the Women's World Cup, but because of COVID. But next year I'll be there to support the women. So rock on.
Yep, dead right. And Jackie, for you then, I suppose, as Grannie was saying, you know, it's tough not being able to get out onto the sideline, into the stadiums. But, you know, even a couple of years back when you were awarded your caps, what did that mean for your community? Just to, you know, was there a buzz around? How did you all feel?
Well, it was funny enough at the time, you know, even up to the day, I hadn't thought about it that much. It was great that we were getting the caps and everything, but as Grannie said there, Sinead done so much behind the scenes, and there was I think it was leave nobody behind, and by God, she made sure everybody was contacted. But I suppose the day after, when I sat down and I realised what it was, and even looking at the articles about Trailblazers, it brought it back to me. In both soccer and rugby, and Grannie and Sinead can tell you this, when we played international soccer or international rugby, your whole community was involved. And what I mean by that was, if you went to Dublin training, your local pub done a fundraiser for you, for your jersey, your socks. You paid your own way. People were fundraising for you to go to Dublin to go training for matches. You paid your own way the whole time. I remember when I was selected to play for Ireland, the manager said to me, "Have you £4,000? And I thought I was getting paid. I said, "Wow, this is brilliant. I didn't get this in soccer." And he said, "No, it'll cost you for the year between time off of work, travelling up and down to Dublin." And I think the Europeans were on that year. And I was like, you know what, come hell or high water, I'll get this money together. And Old Crescent done a fundraiser, the local pub done a fundraiser, anybody, you know, that knew me seemed to be chipping in so that I could do this. So at the end of it, when we got the caps, and it was the new team was there, the Irish team were there on the day. And I thought, not me in particular, because I wasn't there from the very beginning, Grannie was, but that saying of standing on the shoulder of giants became so relevant, because the team of today have so much, and rightly so, there to avail of. But all I had to do is look around that room and see so many people, and I know what they gave financially, emotionally, physically, to be there and getting that cap on the day. So for me, that day, looking back on it, was so important and so emotional, and gave me that great bond to say the other 120 or 30 people that were there, we were part of that history. And it's a legacy. It's a legacy for my grandchildren, for my children, and it's something I'm really proud of. And I'm proud to be in the same company as these two legends, you know, and we take the pee out of one another, but you know what? It's just an honor and a privilege to have played with such a great bunch. And, you know, for all the other people that we played with that made Limerick in particular, a huge part of women's sport. And I can't underestimate how much in soccer and rugby, the amount of players that come from Limerick City, because Limerick is a sports mad place.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. Jackie, sorry, were you going to add to it there? Was it Grania?
I know, I just agree with everything she said. And as you said, it took 30 years before we got our caps, and it's easier now for them because of people like Cossie and a lot more behind. But as you said, the pride of getting the cap, I remember getting my first physical cap for soccer, and my mother was so thrilled because my brother had a junior soccer cap, and it wasn't even kept in the house. It was kept in the neighbour's house because we used to play horse and jockey with it. But she was so proud to say, no, even though I was playing for a couple of years, it took 4 or 5 years before I got the first cap. And my mother went, no, she has the cap, you know. So just to be on par with the opposite sex, that we were now getting the same attributes as they were getting, and having it in the frame and looking at it some days past, and you just go, wow, did we really do that? Yes, we did. And as Jackie said, it cost us money. I remember telling my mother I'd bring you fame and fortune, and I think it just cost her a fortune. But we did it because we loved it. And as Jackie said, with the help of a lot of people, I remember getting sponsored a pair of boots from a work colleague's brother. I remember my work colleagues cover for me in work. I remember going up to Dublin on train doing my homework. So we did sacrifice a lot, and then your family were chipping in to give you money to go. When you were going abroad, you got more money than you did when you went to Dublin, because you didn't spend it in Dublin. You wanted to keep it in Limerick. No. But we were too young to spend it. So yes, I tell you, like, not just the people involved with the game, you had people outside not involved that were supporting you too. So it takes a lot. It takes a lot of support just to go up there, especially to play international and to travel. And you know what? It has more greatness than those little points that we have to get over. We got to see cities we never probably would go and visit. Well, we might now with Ryanair, but you know, back then you couldn't. So yeah, we have a lot to be thankful as well to LFAIs and the FAIs and the IRFU. So yes, we made the path for a lot of people, and all that path needs now is the support on both sides to keep it going on and going up and up and up. So yes, it is a big thing.
I think you should be very proud of everything you've accomplished. Absolutely. I can tell there's been so much hardship, as you said, sacrifices, dedication, and from the outside, people mightn't even see even an inch of what you have to overcome. And I know there's been, you know, many obstacles you've mentioned there, just paying for your own hotels, and just, even it's a big thing being part of a male-dominated industry. So, Sinead, maybe you'll tell us there about, what did you have to face? Were you, because of your gender, were you, up against a 6-foot wall before you even got on the pitch?
Yes and no. All three of us, we played for Old Crescent. At Old Crescent, we were treated as equals. So whatever the guys got, we got. The guy that coached the guys coached us. We were treated as equals. Now, when we started playing, we weren't part of the IRFU. We were part of the IWRFU. So we ran ourselves, basically. It was only for the 99 World Cup that we actually came under the IRFU umbrella, and after that we fully came into the IRFU. But there's still obstacles. The girls play now at international level. They still have full-time jobs. They still have to get up early in the morning and go training, or go training after work. They still have to take time off of work. They get their expenses, they get their flights paid for, but there's still a huge gap there, and a gender gap. And to be honest, I can't see it getting any closer, not in the near future anyway.
Grania, Jackie, would you like to have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think back in our day, funny enough, I know both Cossie and Grania have a lot of brothers, and I think we grew up at a time when, funnily enough, our family accepted that we could play soccer and rugby. I think all three of us are very lucky that the families we came from never put obstacles in our way to say, well, you're a girl, you should be, doing something completely different. And I don't know if the lads agree with me or not on that. I think we didn't see that there was obstacles there for us because we just had a belief in what we were doing. Our attitude was, if the boys can do it, we can do it. I think it's only later on when you got higher up the ladder. Our attitude was, the boys can do it, we can do it. I'm here. But yeah, I think it's only later on that it became apparent the divides that are there when you get to international level or Munster level or whatever, that, you know what, hang on a minute, the guys get paid to go up where the girls have to pay their own way, But I think, again, for us, it was never a matter of we're not going to do this. It was just, we're going to do it. And I think it come back to, our families and the belief they had in us in going to do it, that there was never, well, it can't be done. I don't know, Cossie, what do you think?
My mother found money everywhere for these things. If someone had to go hungry, someone went hungry. But my mother found money in every corner for these things. We were never left short, and we were always encouraged. In my family, and I knew Grania's parents very well. Her mother used to make me shopping out of town every day.
Kept your face.
Our parents, they found it for us to do it because they believed in us. And if it was this day, we'd still do it. We'd still have an international team because at the end of the day, all we want to do is play. I know anyone who doesn't want to play for their country. And no matter what you have to do to play for your country, you'll do it, you'll manage it. It's just sometimes a bit harder to do it.
I remember, the Saipan thing when Roy Keane was given out and everything, and that whole big thing was coming on. I remember thinking, my God, they're complaining about pitches and everything. Remember that big, huge thing with Roy Keane? And I thought to myself, if they only knew the quagmires that we used to train in The gear, we got the men's hand-me-downs. Remember, they were like 3 sizes too big for us and everything. And I thought, my God, if they only knew what we do. And I always thought, and looking up to the players above me, that's who you call an international. Somebody that doesn't complain about the bed, the pitch, the ball not being pumped up right. You know, I always thought that the caps that the women earned were earned so much harder and more deserved.
Well, I kind of agree with you, Jackie, that when we were younger, we didn't see these obstacles because at that stage we weren't playing international, so everything was local and the local clubs were doing everything they could. And the joy, like when you got a bit older, like even having oranges at half time, what a treat. And it would be somebody's parent that would have brought the oranges down, and we thought we were brilliant. We didn't care whether we won or lost, we had oranges, you know?
Yeah.
And then you advanced up to, my God, you have a full set of gear. You have the shorts, the socks, the jersey. Brilliant. And then you got older, and then you had tracksuits. Oh, lads, we thought we were internationals then, like, you know. And then you got your name on, your tracksuit. We thought that was brilliant. That's because one of you wouldn't rob it, like, lads, let's be fair. But, you know, every time, every different age we were going up, everything was getting better, you know. And then when you did go to international, that's when you saw the difference.
Yeah.
You saw that you had to go up training a couple of weekends before a game. You had to go up and pay for the train. You had to pay for the bus. You had to pay for the taxi. You did not get that back until the next meeting. So you had to wait at least 6 weeks after the international to get your couple of quid back that your parents, as Cossie said, sacrifice. And you're going, oh, I'll have it in a couple of weeks. You know, so...
And spend it.
Oh, we'd spend it in the meantime. We'd borrow on the strength of that as well. Like, but there were the obstacles, and it could be made a lot easier by going, okay, you go up to the train station, there's a train ticket waiting for you. But no, that was too hard. You go up, and a lot of times we stayed in strangers' houses. That was understandable. They said they didn't have the money. And the sacrifices that these girls were making, traveling all the time. And I think it should have been, at that time, they should have changed it around a bit. There should have been a training session in Cork, training session in Limerick, and everybody would have got the choice of staying in a stranger's house, knowing what it is like to travel on a Friday afternoon, finishing school, not getting home till Sunday night, and then having to wait weeks to get your money. And then, as you said, I have a very good story. After playing one international, I was after being knocked out and had to go to the hospital. Came back, the jersey was covered in blood, and they asked for the jersey back. And I always remember my friend Chris Phelan, another international player from Limerick, had to go into the toilets of the bar where the food was being served. And she goes, they want their jersey back. And she just ripped it off me. She said, there you go. Because I was afraid to put it over my head, I thought I had 2 heads. Now, that wasn't a swelled head now at all, but it was the stitches. But they took that jersey back. Now, what were they going to do with that jersey? So they were the type of things we were putting up with, changing in airports, giving back the suits, you know. So it made you feel like you're only international on the field instead of being an international before, after, and beyond. You're representing your country. So they were the obstacles that we were putting up with, and these say we survived and we kept going. It didn't turn us against playing. That was the main thing.
That's it. Like what I've taken here from Sinead, all you wanted to do was play, and you will find a way because you're so passionate about it. And there were many obstacles in the way, and, you know, even to this day there are. So, you know, you were mentioning even just kind of traveling. Do you think maybe there was an impact of being from the west of Ireland, southwest? So with Limerick, you know, do you, this day or even back then, were there kind of obstacles where maybe someone got preferential treatment if they were from, you know, Dublin? Did you notice any of that, or, you know, were you just above it and just, you know, we're playing sport because we love it?
Well, I can't speak for the soccer. I can only speak for the rugby, and it didn't matter where you were from. If you were good enough, you were part of the team. It didn't matter whether you were from Limerick, Cork, Dublin, Galway. If you were good enough, you were part of the team. You know, we didn't have that many clubs. We had about maybe 12 at most clubs. So there wasn't a huge pool to pick from anyway. Whereas with the soccer, the Dublin clubs had more teams. So they have a bigger population. So they'd, they'd have more players on the teams. But Crossie played international from Limerick. Chris Phelan played from Limerick. Carty played from Limerick. Susan O'Brien played from Limerick. Limerick had loads of international players, be it soccer or rugby. We had great representation. We still do.
And Grania or Jackie, anything you'd like to add to that?
I'd just like to add, in the rugby, I wouldn't speak much of the rugby because I didn't play a lot at that level. But in the soccer, I did find it hard coming from the West. I must admit I did, and I presume Jackie did as well. We really did think back then we had to prove ourselves twice as good to get on before a dub. And let's face it, they were very good, but we had to really outshine them before we got picked. But if it was on a plain level field down in Limerick and we came up 1 against 1, without a doubt, we would have been way better. But you did come across that obstacle. And I suppose they also looked at the money times of it as well. Like, I can remember simple things like normally in the soccer panel, you'd have 16. You're playing a home game. When we went away, we had 15 players. An outfield player always had to sub as a goalkeeper. And that again was Marion Leahy from Limerick. Like, she was both good in and out. So there was a player that lost out because we were travelling. Like, that was very hard. And I guarantee you, every committee member and every suit on that place came to those away matches, ended up in every embassy in Europe. So that hurt a bit. But I do appreciate what they've done. But why should a player lost out? And there were the obstacles. You would not see that happening in the male sport. If anything, it'd be the other way around. They'd bring 40 players and bring 5 suits because they'd fight away. So, yeah, I did feel it was harder coming from the West.
Definitely. Coming from Limerick, you really did. I remember I had a great couple of years where I was top scorer and I was lucky just to get in. There was 1 or 2 matches, away matches, I got dropped and I was brought in the following week. It wasn't that the girl that went on instead of me was any better or played a really bad match. It was easier to take somebody from Dublin. And I remember one time Fran Rooney came down to Limerick, if you remember this, Grania, and we took him on a training session with Derry O'Donovan. And the man collapsed after a half an hour because we were super fit. We were training in Limerick. We were getting top training, everything. We'd go up to Dublin. We were twice as fit as the Dublin girls or anybody else. And still, come selection day, you were there scratching your head as to why you wouldn't get selected. And it really came down to the players that they could see week in, week out. The selectors wouldn't come to Limerick, come to Waterford. You had to be exceptionally good to make the Irish team. So there was that kind of, it was a bit like the rugby, Cossie, if you remember, there was the Leinster, Munster thing, the brawn and the brains. And it was a bit like that, you just had to be twice as good. I feel there was that crossover. But thankfully, as I said, we have so many people and friends in Limerick that have made international because there seems to be this mentality in Limerick that we can do anything, once we put our mind to it within the women's game. I mean, it's across the board. It's not just soccer and rugby. You can pick up anything and you'll see a Limerick woman there somewhere representing at the highest level. And it's something I'm very proud of coming from Limerick, that I'd like to think that maybe the 3 panelists on here have maybe something got to do with going, you know what, if they can do it, we can do it.
True.
I think Pride for sure, definitely.
Yes.
You'll always find even someone Irish no matter where you go, and it's great to see that you'll always find someone from Limerick in every aspect. That's a great feeling. And I see there's some lovely comments as well from our chat box, and we've got some people congratulating you, saying you're Limerick legends, and we have Grania mentioning, actually saying, Crossie, give me back my tracksuit. So someone has to give back a tracksuit there, even though there's nothing official on it there.
I don't have her tracksuit; she's too small.
So,
I was thinking that, but I wasn't going to say it.
So keep those comments coming in, and if you've got questions for our panel, I'm sure they'll love to answer your questions. So we'll have time for that at the end. And folks, now I think we're going to move on to some kind of advice you could give to clubs, maybe managers, or there might be someone who's watching here who wants to take up sport. Like I've seen it myself, trying to get people on my team, you know, especially women and girls, to take it up. We have such a big drop-off age with girls in their teens. So if you could give some advice to someone who maybe played when they were in primary school or when they were a teen, and what could you say to them to encourage them to take up a sport, any sport at all? Granny, maybe I'll bounce that over to you now.
Well, just say if you were playing sports when you were a kid, and then like it's very hard when you're 14 or 15, everything else in life changes, so you move on. And if they're out there now and they want to go back into sport and they're thinking, no, I haven't played in 10 years, you're still very young. So I would say, first of all, go back and support the game that you loved. Go to your nearest club, be it soccer, rugby, hurling, whatever, watch it, get involved, and then you can go back and play. And the same like in soccer, you can play, you don't have to go and play 11-a-side again because you're thinking, oh, I'm not able for it. Start off at 5-a-side. If you want to play rugby, do tag rugby. And as I said, like if you don't want to play it, go back and support it, because supporting it is just as good as playing, and you can travel all over the world with it. And like that's what I've been doing now. I've been traveling all over the world following it and loving it. So even though I miss playing it, but I love, you know, just being a part of that family as well. That's a different family than playing. You have a family that you travel with, and that's like sport is a full circle. You have people on the sideline. It's not all about playing the game. You have people watching it. You have people entertaining you. Like you have music before the game. You have music after the game. You have someone doing the lights. So you have a technician. You have IT. So like it's like a world. So you can get involved anywhere like that, and you'll be surprised then once you're involved that you want to go out there and say, yeah, I want to go out there and kick head and I want to kick ball, and you know what? Here I go. So I would say just go back to your local club there, start supporting the sport you love, and it'll take off from there.
Thanks, Grania.
Yeah, I agree with you there, Gran. It is a big thing. Like if you've been out of the game for a little while, even just tag along for a training session. Don't put yourself under pressure to sign a form. Go along for a night or two. Just give yourself a night for keep fit, whatever. And then slowly but surely, you'll get back into the swing of things, and your love of the game will come back. You know, and other people, like if you've gone out of sport and you feel, okay, the game isn't there for me anymore in that capacity, maybe refereeing. We've got the fantastic Joy Neville, when she retired, came along and started a whole new career. As Grania said, there's other aspects to staying in sport. You could go into refereeing, or again, management. Management isn't for everybody, you know, but if you're injured, can't get out, whatever, it's a good way of looking at it, and maybe slowly but surely get into that. So look, there's two more things, refereeing, management, but I would always encourage anybody, even if you don't want to play. The biggest part of the nights that I loved was maybe Tuesday night and Thursday night. And that happened with Old Crescent or with Green Park. And it was the camaraderie of the training session. So it's like you get out there and it starts before the training session, and there's the ribbon and the banter and everything that goes on. Then you have the physicality of the training session. And then it's a half an hour or so afterwards catching up. And it's been part of that. And you can take it as serious as you like, or just be as laid back in it. And it's a great way. And as Grannie was talking about mental health and stuff like that earlier, being part of a family where you can get out of that day-to-day grind and just be part of a group where everything is about just coming together and enjoying that hour and a half of a training session. So yeah, I would encourage anybody to try, even if it's not signing a form and committing to being part of a team for the year, just get out and do a bit of training for yourself. Take it easy, enjoy that side of it, you know?
And Sinead, over to you.
That leap isn't, oh, take the first step. Find yourself a team, introduce yourself to that team, and then find something that you can give that team so that you can take back things like help with your mental health, help with physical health, help with your emotional health. You know, you just one small step. The leap is not that big, and you won't look back.
Brilliant. And I think we have a comment from Una Storen here who kind of sums it up here. Una said, really enjoyed listening to you all, and fantastic times and memories for you, and the banter is still rolling. Again, brilliant players. You did Limerick so proud, and Ireland. So banter, I think it just, you know, we mentioned at the start there just how much it can bring us together. I think that's fantastic advice for getting people involved in sport. I think with Miguel Erica, with our GAA club, we're saying that sport doesn't have to be scary. I think a lot of people get put off sport because they think it's about sprints, it's fitness, it's running. You can have fun. You can have a lot of fun, not just with sport, but like the people around you. That's what makes it. Even if you've only 5 players up at training, you're covered in mud, you've enjoyed it. And I think then there could be something we could look at there if we nail this down even further, is maybe looking at, you know, this is Limerick Pride, so how about we try and get the LGBTQI plus community involved in sport? Maybe have you any advice for someone maybe who's in the closet and is just a little afraid just to, you know, come back to sport or take up a new sport? What would you like to say to those people?
Well, I was thinking about that earlier, you know, and I'd say about 2 or 3 years, guys, somebody came up to me that we both know and said, I'd just like to thank you for doing so much for the gay community. And I thought, what do you mean? I haven't done anything. And she actually brought it to my attention that the gang of us that used to hang around together in the teams, because a lot of us crossed over as teammates from soccer to rugby. And we used to, after a match, bring the opposition team into our local pub, which was PJ's or whatever would have sponsored us. And it was funny. When we'd be in there, we'd say mostly on a Sunday after a match, we started to notice more and more young people coming along into the pub, 18-year-old, coming along and joining in. And it was only years later, it was said to me that the actual ladies team didn't know how much they contributed to LGBT, because like-minded people were drawn to the sport. So, like, the 3 of us are here, we're all gay, 2 happily married. You know, and yeah, I forgot to tell you that. But you know, it's funny that people saw not just us as sports people, but actually as kind of carrying the flag for the gay community, because we were so visible as gay people as much as athletes, you know. So it's amazing. I always think sport is a great equalizer for everybody. I think, you know, let's face it, you'll go into any sport and there's going to be a few gay people there. And so it's a good way of starting out if you want to go along. And it would be brilliant to see more inclusivity within the teams. And I just noticed last night the English captain had a rainbow armband on, which was absolutely brilliant to see, you know. And if we could actually have days like that within sport, where we could be a bit inclusive and have days where people will feel more comfortable in joining in with teams, if you could just include that in some way, it would be great.
Yeah, I do agree with you there, Jackie. A lot of it is about publicity as well. Like, as you said, like this kid who talked to you, she saw you probably on the newspaper or on the TV, and then knowing you were from Limerick and going, well, she played sports, so I can play sports. I don't have to pretend I'm somebody else. And I think that's across the board in every sport, and more people that, especially famous people coming out, it does help hugely, because some people mightn't even known I was gay, like, and then one day I was on the newspaper in a wedding dress, you know, so it's, then people say, I always knew she was, but, you know, but then they think, well, you know, she's famous, everybody knows Crossie, everybody knows Jackie, everybody knows Cossie, and no one's giving them a hard time about being gay, and they're loving their sport. And look at us now, here we are. You've been on telly, we've all been on telly. You don't have to be famous either. You just have to look at someone and say, they can do it, I can do it. But like, as well, you're not on your own. That's the main thing. You're not on your own. You just go to a club and you find that one person that will listen to you and they will help you along. And I think that's the best thing about a lot of these gays in every sports. And, you know, they're always there to help someone. No one's going to shun you and go, you know, I want another one in here. No, there is people in every sport, in every walk of life that will help them. So just go and dip your toe in there, see what it is, and you'll be surprised how many people will help you. So that's what I would say to the young people out there. Just go in there and be proud of what you're doing, and everything else will follow.
I think it helps though as well, Grania, at the end of the day, when we were at it, you know, playing our sport and everything else like that, we didn't have gay sports role models. So I think it's absolutely brilliant today that so many people are out and proud of it. And for the younger generation now, it's absolutely brilliant to be able to have a role model within the sport that they choose to go that is openly gay. I think that's absolutely fantastic. I don't think you can underestimate what a huge thing that is for young people coming through, to see that there's somebody there and it's okay and it's accepted.
Yes.
I agree with you there, Jackie. The likes of Lindsay Peat, Nicole Owens, you know, the more and more we see, and not to make it a big deal, like not to have big, this is, you know, our one token gay. No, it's all about we are normal people. We just play sport. But I think it's having such a huge impact that you might never even notice. And Sinead, what would you think about that? Is there any thoughts you have there?
Yeah, I think you're right. Seeing the likes of Lindsay Peat being comfortable in her own skin and not having to wear anything basically about being gay or not. I think she's a great role model because she is comfortable in her skin. She doesn't mind. I'm not saying she doesn't care. She doesn't mind what people think. And it just encourages younger people to be more comfortable in their skin.
Yeah. And, you know, I suppose there's such a huge awareness and visibility, more so visibility in women's sport across the board. Ashton Harris, all the women on the US women's soccer team, and I suppose men's side, it'll come along. It's going to take time. Do you think the more role models in female sport, will we eventually see a more openness in the men's?
I think so. I think we will. It's funny. Again, I remember a guy, and I know the guy, Justin Fashanu. His brother came out, and he ended up committing suicide because he was an English international player, and he was one of the first to come out. And it was tragic to see what happened to him. And then you spring forward to today with the likes of Nigel Owen within the refereeing coming out. And I mean, looking back at some of the stories he told about before, he felt comfortable, enough to come out thinking about suicide and everything else like that. I think it's kind of, I won't say that it wasn't hard back in the day for women, but for some reason, I think it's harder in the men's sport to be openly gay, but it is changing. And again, it's only changing through the visibility of high-profile people coming out and being openly gay and making it more acceptable. And I think the more it's spoken about, even though all we want to do is live our lives the same as everybody else, we don't want to, and I, for one, don't altogether want a label on me. But I think there's a period of time where we have to talk about it, make ourselves visible, until we're kind of blue in the face in a way, and it becomes the norm, if that makes sense. That norm is where we don't need to be identified by our sexual partners or sexuality, that it's just Grania, Jackie, or Cossie. That day is a long, long way off. I'd love to see it happening. I'd love to see the more letters going on to the alphabet mafia. You know what I mean? I'd love when we're just people of all shapes, walks, sizes, colours, and whatever. But I do understand at the moment, unless we're having these conversations and the banter back and forth on it and the ups and downs, it's going to be like a stick and plaster pulled off. There's going to be nasty trollers. There's going to be hate and everything else out there. But at the end of it, I think the cream and the good always comes to the top. And you see people going, hang on a minute, that's not acceptable. I'm standing up for this, And I think there was Martin Luther King or somebody said, it's bad things happen when good people stay quiet. So I think at the moment, the LGBTQ community is kind of giving a big shout out there. And so it should do. And, I think the voices will be heard. And eventually we'll all be able to come to that level where, it doesn't matter.
Well, you're right. It is a long way off. And I do agree it's a lot harder for a man than it is for a woman. And that's because of the way of life has been in the past. Like, even for us, when we were playing, and we were prejudged when we were playing women's sport, we were called butch. We didn't even know what it meant back then, but that's the way they judged you. And if you don't play sport as a male, you're called gay. So everything has been prejudged, whereas nowadays it's not as much prejudged because everybody can play sport. You don't have to play sport. You don't have to be gay to play sport. And as you said, the more famous people in men's sport, which is really, really what they need, because I think the women are really on the good road. They're making the path, whereas the men, I think there was an American footballer came out there last week, and I think that's going to be huge. Like, that is one of the most male-dominant sports you will ever play besides rugby, and he's come out and he's getting huge support in a country like that. So I think that's going to help at this side of the water as well. And as I said, everything was prejudged, whereas nowadays it's not. I think it's getting better, and we are a long way off. You don't want to walk into a pub and go, hey, I'm gay, so don't say anything to me, And that's what people think we're supposed to be doing, going, oh, you can't say that, I'm calling the guards. Have the banter to say, are you gay? And you go, no, I'm grown, yeah. Who's gay? The more people, it's the people who are not gay that feel more relaxed with you is the better. It's not the other way around. We don't have to feel relaxed with them. We are who we are. It's them that has to change their attitude. And that's why having shows like this will help, you know. And there's people out there and their kids they know are probably gay. And if they see this, they probably go, you know what? Let's let them see things like this and make the path and make it easy for them and not try and pretend it's not there. So, yeah, I think the more publicity, the better. It's like everything else. Once they see it on TV, it'll catch on. I don't mean it like as a hobby, but people will, you know, we've only so many spaces here, you know, so get in first. No, but I think the more, especially their parents, the more they understand it, the more they'll understand their kids and they'll see the signs and help them before that child has to make that huge decision about will I tell them or will I go the opposite way or will I just go away and forget about it. So, yeah, I think adults have to look at it a lot more rather than the kids themselves.
Yeah, that's beautifully put. At the end of the day, just human. That's all we are. As I say, Grania, just want to be known as Grania, nothing else. So I've got one closing question for you because I know we're coming to the end now of our lovely session. I wish I could chat to you for hours. So I have one question and maybe you could sum it up in about 20 seconds each. So if you were to go back to your early days of playing in Limerick, and what advice would you give to your younger self? Jackie, I'll come to you first.
Wow, what advice would I give to younger me? Crikey. You know what? I don't think there is any advice I could give to me. It's such a brilliant road to go down. Just enjoy it so much more. Embrace it. That would be it.
That's it. Enjoyment. And Sinead, can I bounce it over to you?
Sure. 3 words. Don't change anything. I wouldn't change a thing.
That's 4.
Do it all over again.
Take one out.
Change anything.
There you go. Good comeback. What advice I'd give to myself is,
get off the cigarette.
I was never afraid to play against the boys. I think the boys were more afraid to play against us, and that they always had to be captain, and we always accepted that. And we went, hold on a minute. It took us a while before, hold on. We can be captains too. And it still went down to that boy thing. My dad is better than your dad. And the girl going, oh, your nails are lovely. But we kind of changed that back then. We went, hold on, I'm good enough to be captain. I'm picking my team and you pick your team. So I think we did a lot more of that back then at a different level. But other than that, as Cossie said, don't change anything and enjoy it. And we did.
It's fantastic. And folks, it was absolutely lovely chatting to you. Thank you to everyone who's joined our live stream, who's commented. There's been some lovely stuff and really appreciate joining us today. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the festivities for Limerick Pride. Check out the website and social media. There's loads of events on for the rest of the week. And a happy Pride to everyone. And thanks, Mill, for joining us.
Thank you, Emma. And thanks Lisa and Karina and Stefano for making this happen. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
And enjoy Pride.
Nice.
Enjoy Pride. Ciao, bellas. Ci vediamo. See you in PJs.